Hi, my name is Phil Anderson, and I'm running for United States Senate to represent Wisconsin. This morning, Governor Scott Walker endorsed Senator Ted Cruz to be the Republican nominee for president. And it's not really a surprise. What was interesting, though, I think, is that in his remarks he said he endorsed Senator Ted Cruz because Ted Cruz has the best chance of being the nominee and has the best chance of the Republican Party winning the White House in November against Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. That is particularly illuminating, I think, because it really is the basis of party politics, what you're seeing right there. Although Scott Walker went on to say that he appreciates Ted Cruz's conservatism, blah, 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 I am 100% sure that if other politicians looked like they were going to have a chance to win the Republican nomination, that Scott Walker would endorse them as well. If John Kasich were the presumptive frontrunner right now, setting aside Donald Trump, of course, then Scott Walker would be endorsing Kasich, and we know that Kasich and Cruz's policies and projections are not exactly the same. What Scott Walker is doing, and what other politicians of both Democrats and Republicans do, is they don't really endorse candidates who reflect the very core principles that they hold. They endorse candidates who they think are going to win because they want to be right. It's the same thing that campaign donors do as well. That's why Donald Trump truthfully says that he's given money to both Republicans and Democrats over the years. Other people have tried to use that against him, but of course what he's paying for is access after the fact. He wants to back a winner. So they wait and see who they think is going to win, who's the most viable. They give them money, and making them viable candidates, those candidates then win. And sure enough, Donald Trump has access to whoever's in the White House, big campaign donors, and of course governors of states like Wisconsin. If they, so assuming they wait around long enough to pick the winner, then they will have access to those people who they help get elected. Maybe Scott Walker's thinking that Ted Cruz might pick him for some cabinet spot because things aren't going well here in Wisconsin for him. Maybe he's hoping against hope that he might be a good vice presidential nominee, which is ridiculous. Again, I think it reflects on how people that hold offices and candidates endorse other people. It's not about, I really want this person to win and I think they'd appreciate my support and so I'm really going to work for them. It's about picking winners and losers and having yourself have access to those people if, in fact, you're correct. I think that's especially true in our state Senate, the people that are running for Senate in Wisconsin. My opponents, Russ Feingold and Ron Johnson. Now, Ron Johnson hasn't endorsed yet. He'll probably wait and see who gets the nomination. Russ Feingold hasn't endorsed Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders yet, but I'm sure at some point he will once he sees which way the wind is blowing. And certainly, even if they endorse incorrectly now, if they don't pick the winner, they'll certainly get behind whoever their party's nominee is. There's no way that Russ Feingold is not going to back whoever the Democratic Party nominee for president is. Similarly, the same for Ron Johnson. He's not going to not back. Even if it's Donald Trump, he'll get right behind him, even though Donald Trump doesn't necessarily represent what his supposed values are, or if Kasich doesn't, or if Cruz doesn't, or if it's somebody else that they managed to get the nomination at a brokered convention. I'm 100% sure that Ron Johnson will back that candidate, regardless of the differences in principles, because party comes first. People like Russ Feingold and Ron Johnson owe their very existence, their sustenance, their identity, politically anyway, to how they identify with their parties. It's inseparable. So there's no chance that either of them will dissent from their party's choice at their respective conventions. They will back them, no matter what that means. And that's how you know a true politician, somebody who's spent a career doing that, as opposed to somebody like me, a private citizen who's looking to serve their country and their residents of their state by getting government off their backs. There's not an investment to be made in a libertarian candidate. There's no donor, big donor, that's going to look at somebody like me or the other libertarians that are running for office and say, you know, I'll give this guy money because he's going to do something for me after the election. I've already clearly stated, and it's clearly part of libertarian principles, that we don't want any part of that. And although we haven't had a libertarian in high office for a long time, Ron Paul, who more or less is a libertarian, while a member of the Republican Party, was not a good investment either. And I hope to emulate that in the United States Senate, and that is to not give the time of day to lobbyists, to not take big campaign contributions, to not be beholden to any of those, and to do the things that I set out to do based on principle, not on the fact that my party supplies me with volunteers and money and donors. That's not what I'm about. As your United States Senator, I will not be a part of any of that. It probably won't be offered, truthfully, and that, of course, is a disadvantage in running for election. But should I win, and the campaign's going very well, should I win, I promise, as a matter of principle, as a matter of my party's platform, and as my core belief, that I will do my best to reduce government, to get it off your back, to get us out of interventionist wars where we're killing our own citizens, sending our own citizens to die, and killing innocent civilians along with enemy combatants. All those things that I've set out to do are a matter of principle to me. They have nothing to do with being beholden to a party or to campaign donors. That's what I'll do as your senator. So please vote for me November 8th. Please follow along with the campaign. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, forphilanderson@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter @forphilanderson. The website is forphilanderson.org, the number forphilanderson.org. You can find me in any of those places, and feel free to give feedback, as many of you already have. I enjoy your comments. I enjoy your criticisms on social media. It's very useful, and I hope that I've won a few more followers by the fact that I'm willing to be accessible and to answer your questions and your concerns, and in some cases your insults, directly on social media. I'll do my best to keep up. Thanks, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.